Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Charitable and Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. And of course, we're always glad to bring you updated information. Some of that information comes from the Corps of Engineers as we welcome in Lacey Shaw, the Senior Project Manager with the New Orleans District of the United States Army Corps of Engineers. Lacey, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Oh, Keith, thank you for having me.
Yeah. And so, Lacey, one of these things is that we keep talking about the partnership that we have. We're so very excited in Terrebonne and Lafourche to be able to partner with the Army Corps of Engineers. And I will tell you, every time we talk about Morganza, we talk about the value of what the Corps has done and been for us. So it's been a great partnership. So I want to start off just by saying thank you for the great work with Morganza and our teams here.
Oh, I think the thanks needs to go out to the locals here. This has been about 29 years in the making. We're riding in on the coattails of the Terrebonne Levee and Conservation District that has invested over $1 billion on the Morganza flood risk reduction project. So I think a lot of the lion's share of the work has started, and we are just so excited for the federal government to be able to participate in this now.
And so we know that there was this environmental assessment that was done and being released. Can you just give us some specifics about that, maybe the process a little bit and why that's so important?
Sure. This is part of what we call NEPA. So that's the National Economic Policy Act. Part of that is to get out to the public, to let everybody know what's going on, what are the next federal actions that we're doing. This one in particular is covering the Corps going out to do surveys and borings along this 98-mile levee system. We will do geotechnical work. You'll see drill rigs out there. You'll see some swamp buggies. You'll see folks out on the levee doing some environmental work, doing some topographic survey. So this is getting out to the public to let people know what we are doing and looking at any impacts that we have and the ways we're mitigating those impacts. But most of all, what it signifies to me is that the Corps is, after, like I said, these 30 years of the locals doing this work, that we're able to participate and bring some money to the table and start construction from the federal end.
Yeah, and again, you mentioned it very well. People with the levee districts who've worked so very hard, you know, Reggie and Tony and those people that have really, like you said, laid the groundwork. And now this partnership with the Corps and some of these national monies that is so very much appreciated, but there is a process. And you guys have to make sure that you go through that process and follow your policies and your guidelines. And that's got a great deal to do with this 30-day assessment, correct?
That is correct. So, of course, before we go out to design anything or build anything, we've got to know the conditions that we're dealing with. So we need to do these investigations, know what kind of land we're dealing with, and it's the first step in the design process. We also have very heavy environmental coordination that needs to be done. You know, we're surrounded by beautiful, pristine wetlands, and we want to make sure that we're doing the right things towards the environment to make our impact as minimal as possible.
Yeah, and is there a particular starting point? I know we're talking about, you know, some 84 miles or so. Do y'all have a process for kind of where that is or where that starts, or is that all done as you do your assessment?
Well, as far as construction-wise, we have a big focus on what we're calling Reach A, that is just west of Houma, which is just south of the GIWW. And it is an area that has not been constructed yet. You know, the parish has gone in and constructed over 80 miles of levee. So this is one area that hasn't been constructed yet. So that's probably our biggest focus at the time. However, we need to do environmental consultation over the full 98 miles of levee system. So the Morganza to the Gulf, and I know that we'll show a map in a bit, it starts on the west side up in Gibson goes all the way down to the west of Houma, goes down to around Dulac, covers around Montague, and meets up over in the LaRose area where it terminates on the east side. So we've got a lot of area to cover and a lot of work to do. So we're starting simultaneous in different areas, but I have to say our big focus right now is that Reach A area. And then next after that, we're looking at an unconstructed area over in the LaRose on the eastern tie-in.
Right. And so, again, I appreciate you kind of sharing with us those starting points. And so is there like a timeline? Are they expecting like an update in 30 days? Is that what the anticipation is?
Well, the 30 days, what you see now, we've gone out to the public because we're asking for comments.
Gotcha.
And I encourage everyone to look at the link and give their comments about the work that we're doing out there. So that's the next 30 days. Then after that, we'll publish the document and for what we call a final FONSI, which is a finding of no significant impact. And after that point, we are able to start those investigations I was talking about,
right,
whether it being folks out there on the levee or, equipment out there to start those investigations before we go into design.
Terrific. Well, Lacey, thank you so very much. We really appreciate your time today sharing with us, and thank you for all the good work over at the Corps.
Oh, thank you, Keith.
All right. And that will do it for this particular segment of Bayou Time. Don't go anywhere. A lot more local programming when we continue.